coffee. I had my egg whites and my turkey bacon to start the day. It is still Sober October as well. I guess by the time people listen to this, it's going to be like we're going to be crossing the finish line of Sober October. So happy!
I didn't know that.
Happy finish line. Yeah, happy finish line to everyone else who did that. So no alcohol. I've been drinking decaf. Very clean eating this month. Feel great. Been running also, so that's been really cool. So yeah, overall it's a good morning. But that's not why I'm super excited. I'm super excited, as I just mentioned before we started recording, because as we're recording this, The Outer Worlds and Kanye West's new album have both just come out.
To be honest, after so many delays in that Kanye West album, I didn't think it was going to happen, and that would be like a great scandal. Like, guys, sorry, I just didn't make an album. I forgot.
we had to sell it to pay for Kim's wardrobe. Yeah, no, I was not like waiting for it. I kind of checked real quick just at midnight to be like, did it drop? And of course he made another tweet saying that it had been delayed. So I was like, whatever. I kind of didn't expect to listen to it right away. And I downloaded it, bought the album yesterday, like in the evening. And yeah, I've been living with that since last night. It's been really, really good. Listened to the whole album a couple of times. I made some tweets about it. I do not think it's his best work at all. I think sometimes my love of Kanye almost becomes like a parody of itself on the channel. And I almost have to remind myself, I don't know if I have to remind him to be like, I don't love Kanye that much to the point where I can't see the flaws. It's kind of a soft middle portion of the album. Like the first 3 tracks I think are strong, and I think the last 3 tracks are strong. It's a short album. It's only really 9 real tracks. It's 11 on the album, but the first and last one are kind of just like intro, outro. Is
it like a poopity scoop type of deal?
It's no poopity scoop. It's no poopity scoop. It's the first one's kind of more just like a classic like choir going. It's supposed to. He tagged it as a gospel album. I don't really think it is, but it's a very faith inspired album. It's Kanye talking about faith and his family and how that has changed him and what it means to him, etc. It's a good album. It's very, very earnest. He has this peculiar way of making himself be incredibly vulnerable, and yet he doesn't lose the Kanye swagger, and I don't quite know how he does that. It's a very interesting artistic expression because he's laying out all his problems and his weaknesses, and yet he's still got this weird sort of chest beating I'm the greatest thing going on. So it's fun. It's fun. It's also got some really good beats on it. It's a good album.
This sounds so bizarre to me. Like
it really is the one quote unquote Chick-fil-A song that everyone was sort of up in arms about because he's got a line in there about you're my number one, you're my Chick-fil-A, all this other stuff. That's okay. That's meant to be a funny song. Anyone who doesn't get that after listening to it, it's meant to be a tongue-in-cheek kind of funny song, but it's got an oddly serious message. It's not about Chick-fil-A and how much he loves Chick-fil-A. It's about his family and how the idea of like, put your cell phones away, don't be on Instagram, have at least one day where you're just with your family and nothing else should matter, and it should be all about my kids and my wife and all that. It's not, it's weird. It is definitely a weird song, but I kind of like it because I think it is meant to be tongue-in-cheek.
So how often have you been calling your girlfriend Chick-fil-A after that?
You know what? I did I did mention, because there's a line, what is it? You're my number one, you're my Chick-fil-A, you're my number one with the lemonade. And my girlfriend does particularly like the lemonade from Chick-fil-A, and so I thought that was funny. They do have good lemonade. Anyway, Kanye West album, it is not his best work, but holy crap, has it actually been received really well. There's a ton of shade going on Twitter, but the numbers do not lie. I have not independently verified this, but apparently he had 38 million plays on Spotify in 12 hours.
Wow.
Which I think is the highest. I think someone said it was the highest first day total. I don't know if that's true, but certainly for 12 hours, because he didn't release it at midnight the way they planned to. So it was like a half of day, and it did 38 million plays on Spotify. It's the number one album on iTunes. A bunch of the individual songs are in the top 10, and it's crazy. It's a smash success by all accounts.
Okay. Now, how are we gonna bring this into what we're gonna talk about?
Well, first of all, I want to ask: have you played Outer Worlds or no? You're waiting on that one.
Oh, my computer's broken.
Oh, that's right. Oh, crap! I forgot. Yeah, totally forgot.
I'm I guess living on a wing and a prayer right now.
In the continuity of podcasts, this does not happen like the last episode we did, but you've been tweeting about this and everything. So
the power supply on my computer is just like fuck it and died. So. It's been a weird couple weeks, let me tell you.
But it's on the way, right? Replacement parts on the way.
Yes,
It was under warranty.
I finally got a tracking number. It should be here Wednesday, but like that means nothing to this time-sensitive podcast. By the time this goes out, I should have it. Is
yes.
What the deal is.
All right, I'll go quick because I know we're 5 minutes in and people get mad at us when we cold open for too long. But the way that this goes is the Outer Worlds is fantastic. It is absolutely sort of older Obsidian / Black Isles sensibility. So think KOTOR 2, think Fallout New Vegas, but I would say in a lot of ways even more than that, think Fallout 1 and 2. It's a lot of choices. You can be a dumb character, you can be a smart character. Intimidate works in a great way. Lying works in a great way. You can lie a lot, which I find to be really satisfying. You can lie almost, I don't want to say every dialogue option, but you can lie a lot, which is really great. People will react to you wearing the wrong clothes. I got some armor, and it was like quote unquote Marauder armor, but it had better stats than my starting one, so I put it on, and people were freaking out when I talked to anyone.
Wow.
So it's very, very reactive in that way. The reason why I compare it to Fallout, at least Fallout 1, is I had never really gone deep into the old Fallouts. And for whatever reason, because maybe in my head to get ready for the Outer Worlds, maybe because I was playing Pillars 2, I downloaded Fallout 1, and that game is oddly addictive. When you get past the age of it, it's very old. The controls suck. The menus make no sense. I almost rage quit on it in the first hour. And it's weird, Caitie. Like, I really, really like the Outer Worlds. I thought I was going to spend last night playing the Outer Worlds entirely, but I got into this weird jam in Fallout 1 where I thought I had lost the game. Like, not gotten a game over screen, not gotten a bug. There are ways that you can just lose in Fallout 1.
Oh.
Several hours into a playthrough, it's a catch-22. You cannot advance the main plot anymore, or you die.
Oh.
Actually, it's happened multiple times. I almost died from radiation poisoning, and I couldn't get to a healer. I didn't have items, and I didn't have any saves to go back to, and it kills you over time, and you have to travel, and it takes days to travel. So that almost killed me, and then I ran into another catch-22 with the different quests, some of which have timers, and I almost lost the game that way. Anyway, I played Fallout 1 last night for like 5 hours. I didn't even play Outer Worlds last night. It was crazy. The reason why I say all of that is because I've really started to appreciate older games, or games that are newer but have older sensibilities, like Pillars 1, and Fallout 1, and Outer Worlds being another new game that has old game sensibilities. One of the greatest examples that we are very familiar with on this podcast is Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age Origins is sort of the culmination of all of the Infinity Engine, Icewind Dale, Baldur's Gate, Planescape Torment, all of these different games kind of culminated in 2009 when, to me, it's still the only fully 3D game, third-person game, that is like an isometric RPG in many ways.
Yeah, you can even play it like an isometric if you wish.
Totally. Yeah. Especially, I don't know if that, maybe on console, but definitely on PC, you can do it the entire time. So anyway, that's kind of what we wanted to talk about. It's a long way to get there, but that's what we wanted to talk about was Dragon Age Origins, like a retrospect on it, which we never did a full, complete DAO retrospect, I think, but also more so kind of adding the context of, could you do it now? How would you do it now? Could Dragon Age work as a full isometric game? Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Now, I will say, like, I guess to open up with, I do like isometric games. I am quite fond of them. I have never played Dragon Age, I guess particularly Origins, even though you can kind of do it in Inquisition, but that's worthless. I've never played it like that, and I never really wanted to. I think it works better as, like, that third-person view for me.
I mean, I agree. I've never played it fully isometric either, although I will say more recently, I think because I'm more used to isometric games now, I'm a little bit more inclined to, or I'm a little bit more open to do it that way. It feels more natural. I think as someone who didn't really play them when I was younger, when I started trying to get back into them with Pillars a couple years ago, I was like, this is kind of weird. I don't know if I like this, but once you get used to it, it's very comfortable. I get very accustomed to being able to see everything around the characters.
I do like that too, but I don't know. I for me, I think it might be the cutscenes, because the cutscenes are in third person, like when you talk to someone or whatever. It's in that, so like going from back and forth from like the kind of the high up and then zhoosh your way in there. Like it's kind of I'm gonna say visual backlash, whiplash a little. I don't know if that's quite the words I'm looking for, but like I don't know. I prefer like I guess in Divinity because it's like the most modern one I've played. When you have a cutscene, it like zooms in a little, but you're still very much like just looking above versus Dragon Age. If you zoom out, like you get in there, you know. So I feel like if we were to have another Dragon Age game and they focus on the isometric view, I wouldn't want cutscenes that are like Dragon Age Origins or Inquisition or whatever. I would want like the Divinity cutscenes where it's just you still looking at above, the camera is still locked where it is, and you just see people moving around. So
yeah, I mean that's a really interesting thing to bring up because you're totally right. I mean it is definitely a very different visual style to have like a cinematic movie scene going on after you've just been in this top-down view. Do you think if they did another Dragon Age that they would do you think that realistically they would ever not do the cinematics? I wouldn't mind either way. Like I'm kind of like with you. I would totally not mind if they did it like Divinity or Pillars, but it's EA, right? Like they're probably thinking we got to have this sort of cinematic thing because that's what people think is modern.
In a main game, I don't think it's possible, but I do think maybe we're kind of going too quickly on the design of game. But I think if they did a offshoot, which is something they talked about before, I think it's entirely possible.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, I think we maybe focus on like a little retrospective on Dragon Age Origins first, but out of all the Dragon Ages, it's definitely I think aged the best in a way.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, like I will say that I think there's also an argument for Dragon Age 2 going from most hated Dragon Age to a well-beloved Dragon Age. So, like, there's an argument there. But I think, like, in consistency, Dragon Age Origins is there. Dragon Age Origins has been and always will be now It has definitely aged a lot. Like, it looks very ugly. I think a non-modded Dragon Age Origin run is insane to me now. I cannot do it without mods.
Yeah.
It's so core to my experience. But the fact that you can mod it so well, and, like, some of the mods that you can get are absolutely insane on how much it can add and really, like, keeps the game going in a way that I think that really makes it something extremely special that I think because of just how fancy Inquisition and probably Dragon Age 4 is going to be, like, it's not going to have that same lasting effect.
Yeah, it is really interesting how well Dragon Age Origins has aged, especially just from a design standpoint. I guess maybe that really does go back to to what it's based on. It is, in some sense, you could, I guess, maybe if you wanted to be really cynical, you could criticize it for not being anything new. There was a point where the Bioware formula was really formulaic, right? Like you have an opening, you're some kind of chosen one, you go to 4 places, and then you have an end game. Like they really did that quite a bit for a while, and so you could say that it's formulaic in a sense, but I don't personally think that hurts Dragon Age Origins. I think that it is like the masterclass of the Bioware formula, kind of after KOTOR, and just like we have perfected how to do this structure and give you reactivity and give you lots of choices in it. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't think any Dragon Age game, as much as I like 2 and as much as I like Inquisition, has ever had as much choice and freedom as Dragon Age Origins did.
Oh, I completely agree with that. As much as I like Inquisition will always be my favorite. But Origins, like, you cannot beat the custom ability and like I guess character creation because of mods, and the way you build your character because you have 2-handed warriors that has never come back. The blood mage abilities, which you can argue that Dragon Age 2 might have been better, but like, you know, stuff like that. The actual like amount of story where you can honestly be the bad guy has never been done since in the series.
Right.
Like, you can sell and, like, murder a whole bunch of elves just to get one more point to add to your, like, ability score or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, no kidding.
You can't do that in any of the other series. The worst that you can get probably later in the series is maybe sell Fenris back, and I'm struggling to come up with another one. You know what I mean? When there's like you could sell off your cousin to be you know what I mean? Like it's not very good. You cannot do that any other time. So yeah, there's a lot more role playing ability in there. And then like you can kill most of your companions or at least kick them off in some way. It is entirely possible to just end the game with Logain or Alistair, you know?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's really, that is something that I feel like is really lost in a lot of modern games where I can appreciate the role playing of, say, like a Witcher 3, because you are playing a set character. They have canon material that they have to be true to. They can't let Geralt get too far away from, I don't think people want to see Geralt get too far away from who Geralt is. So you get a little bit of latitude with how you want to role play Geralt, but you're always Geralt. And I feel like even with characters that are not based on pre-existing material, Shepard, to some extent Hawke, the Inquisitor, they are meant to be a character, and you get a certain amount of latitude with how you play them, whereas the Warden in Dragon Age Origins is meant to be a basis for role-playing.
Yeah.
And I don't know that games really go for that design factor anymore, where they say, what we're trying to do is not necessarily tell our story about our character. We're trying to set up a world that has as much flexibility as possible so you can make up an interesting story, essentially, with a lot of options about your character that you're mainly creating from scratch. Outer Worlds, by the way, is very good at doing that early on.
And I almost think that with the it's not the Unreal Engine. What engine? Frostbite engine that they're on. Like it's only ever going to get worse. You know what I mean? Because like it's so hard for them to just do as many choices as they did in Inquisition, which I thought they did a very fair job with to begin with. But like, you can't have the variety of choices they did in Origins because it's so hard and so expensive to create custom just animations for a very small choice. You know, like they have to cut down choices because like they don't have the budget for it. And I think that's really the downfall to like these beautiful Frostbite AAA games that we're getting, because it might look very beautiful, but it's I don't want to say shallow too much, but I do kind of mean that. Like you can't really have that depth that you once used to, because used to it just be like it's text and a line of dialogue that's so cheap to do. Versus now, it's like you have to have someone to do the motion capture, to do the animation, the whole team to do that, the art design, voice acting. Like it's so much more expensive to do that now. So I think in a sense, like because we expect that now from a main Dragon Age game, well, we're not going to get that again. Or the choices of Origins. It would really have to be an offshoot to kind of get that more free form cRPG things that we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's this is kind of a sidebar, but I had a thought the other day about the Frostbite engine and how much crap we give it. And in particular, you know, I probably said in the past Bioware shouldn't be using it. They should be making a case within EA that, you know, we want to use something else. EA should be making a case that Bioware shouldn't be forced to use it because it's not an RPG engine inherently. But you know, there's a counter argument that exists to that, which is if you look at where Bioware was at when they made Mass Effect 1, it's like, okay, you guys are making a science fiction game. Like, okay, besides KOTOR, you've mainly been known for fantasy. It's going to be what? It's going to be a third-person shooter, and you're going to make it on the Unreal Engine? The Unreal Engine is for first-person shooters. Because that's what it was in 2007. It started off as a first-person shooter engine. And yet, BioWare started a new science fiction IP as a third-person action shooter game on a first-person shooter engine, and guess what? It was the greatest thing ever. So I don't blame someone at EA who kind of maybe doesn't understand the technical or the minute differences. On paper, Anthem would have looked just like that.
Yeah.
Right? It's a new science fiction IP, third-person action game. Sure, it's being made on an engine that's really for shooters, but they've done this before. Anyway, I digress. I think maybe one day Frostbite will truly become overhauled in the way that the Unreal Engine has, because Unreal Engine is, by all accounts, very good for everything. It's a very flexible engine now. At the Outer Worlds is made on the Unreal Engine. But anyway, I do agree with you that as a mainstream game, like I don't think that Dragon Age 4 is gonna come back and recapture the flexibility and the reactivity of Dragon Age Origins at all. I think that we are probably looking at an offshoot situation, which, you know, I want to believe that there's a business case to be made for why they should absolutely be doing that.
Mm-hmm. There might be. I just can't think of one. So,
I mean, from what I understand, I mean, I know Pillars 2 apparently did not sell well for a variety of different reasons, but I know that it's got to be cost effective, right? Like, especially when you have a brand like Dragon Age, you can sell just the brand, and it's not like a lot of the hardcore people are going to be off-put by something like that. I really wonder what they could do if someone at EA just gave them license to say, look, let's turn this around fairly quickly. Let's do it in 2 years or 3 years. What can you do in Unity or whatever other engine you want to use if you had a small team and a relatively small budget? Like, what could you make in 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that happen. And I can guarantee you, when you consider the fact that between 2009 and 2014, we had 3 Dragon Age games. And between 2014 and 2020, we're going to have 0 Dragon Age games.
Yeah.
The community is starved for actual game content. I think that if they released even a quickly put together isometric RPG, people would devour it.
Oh, I completely agree. And I really wish that had happened because, 1, it would have been amazing. And 2, like you said, God, we are starved for content. It's rough out there, guys.
Yeah. I mean, look, Mass Effect Andromeda wasn't great, but at least it was something, you know?
Yeah. God. I guess now what I want to talk about is, like, unless he has something more to say on Origins and, like, the positives of it. Like, let's design our own Dragon Age cRPG.
First of all, I would love that as well. I guess to give Origins a little more space, you and I have talked about many times, like, what is that Bioware moment? What is the moment when you feel like, this is the thing that's hooked me, this is something I want to spend a bunch of time in? Do you remember what that moment was for you, first playing Dragon Age Origins?
Yes. It was, I think I've said this before even, but I'll say it again. I was playing the Mage Origin, and I was playing through, the Fade part, and we're getting to the very end, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I defeated the whatever, all right, and this loser guy called Mouse, Mouse that looks like a rat, he wants to, whatever, and then he turns into a pride demon. I was like, oh shit, I did not expect that. I honestly didn't expect that. I thought he was just some loser who failed the harrowing and he was supposed to just be like tutorial Gary to help him get through the thing. But no, it was like an actual interesting character. And so that was I remember, like, there's this scene where, like, the monster's, like, rising up and says, like, keep your wits about you. And that was the moment, like, I'm going, holy shit!
Yeah.
So, and yeah, from there, like, there's been a lot of little Bioware moments, if you will, where my expectations were subverted. So
yeah, well, it's very good at doing that.
What about you?
For me, it was, and it's a little bit later than that. It's like past the Origin, but it was really sort of after Ostagar when you're talking to Flemeth and you're sort of like, what are we gonna do? Right? You wake up in her hut and Morgan's there. You survived. Alistair's like, fuck, everybody's, Duncan's dead. The king's dead. We lost. What the hell happened with Loghain? And there's all of this sort of like, I remember there's a lot of dialogue options. You can ask a lot of questions like, well, aren't there other people in Ferelden? Like, no, they were all with Duncan and Kaelin. And well, there's no other wardens? Like, well, they're in Orlais, but that's going to take a long time. Weishaupt is even farther. Like, and it's this realization of like, you are this new warden recruit and Alistair is with you, but he's not much of a veteran. He's a little more experienced than you. And it's all up to you now. And you're talking about like, well, we've got the treaties and we can go to these different places. And I loved everything up to that point. I loved, Human Noble Origin. I loved the Battle of Ostagar. That felt really epic and like classic fantasy at that point. But it's really when you get to that point afterwards where you realize this adventure is about to open up and you have so many options and so much freedom. And I just feel like they really set you up for that in a great way. And that was when the oh shit, we're going on a massive adventure gear started turning and I was hyped.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a good moment too.
What is I don't know, what is your, I guess, takeaway from Dragon Age? You've played Dragon Age Origins now a crap ton of times. What is your, I guess, like your blurb on what you think Dragon Age Origins has meant to RPGs, to gaming industry? I don't know, however you want to.
I think and maybe I'm wrong, but for me, it was the first time that I know of that kind of the customability of like the isometric RPGs that were like for the most part unvoiced. It was mostly text based.
Right.
That was kind of married into the more now classical RPG idea where it's like fully voice acted for the most part. You know, like grand cutscenes and stuff like that, and like it felt more personal, and you like really got in there. So it was kind of a marriage between that two, and I do think that later down the Dragon Age series, they kind of got rid of the isometric, you know, RPG standpoint and went more to the classical element with some, you know, you can create your own character in Inquisition and stuff like that, but it for the most part, like. Origins is very unique where it really does marry those two ideas together. The other ones kind of have like small elements, but not really quite. So it would be kind of interesting to see like that being married again and have like a real spiritual successor to Origins.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it is really, it is sort of the first of the new and the last of the old at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I think it still represents the fact that can be done. You can have full voice acting and cinematics while still having a really large range of choices. It's the game that I think I would hold up as proof that we should be seeing more of these in a modern day. Mm-hmm. Side note, really interesting. I never knew this, but that happening with full voice acting in RPGs, even in Origins, in a lot of weird ways, I think it maybe never would have happened without LucasArts. Which might surprise some people, but in Knights of the Old Republic 1, Bioware never planned to have full voice acting. They were just going to do it the way that they've always done it, which is like a lot of text and like the key characters and key conversations would have voice, but like you were just going to be reading. And when they were showing the early demos to LucasArts, they're like, okay, yeah, and then we're going to like go back in and do voice acting for all this. And they're like, well, like on some of it, yeah, but like we couldn't, I mean, the whole thing would be really like, that would be expensive. Like we would need like this amount of money to do it. And LucasArts was like, okay. like
how much I'll write the check.
Yeah, like this is a LucasArts game. This is a Star Wars game. Like we really wanted to have all voice acting, and Bioware was like, okay, like yeah, we can do that. But like they talk about it. I think there's a clip of Casey Hudson saying, even beyond just the money aspect of it, we just never thought that's. Or a lot of RPGs just didn't do that. Mm-hmm. So it's like that was a real eye-opening moment for them when they realized that they could do it, and then, you know, when they got acquired, etc., they had an influx of funds to do that for Dragon Age and Mass Effect, and then now everybody does it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Dragon Age Origins, I think it has stood the test of time, and I think it is still a testament to everything we love about new RPGs and everything we love about old RPGs wrapped up in one. Mm-hmm. If we were going to do a cRPG, first of all, let's talk like seriously premise and story. If it was going to be an offshoot, not Dragon Age 4, when and where and with who do you tell that story?
Okay, I see this as the absolute perfect chance to tell the story of the Warden on the Cure for the Calling.
Yes. Oh, that was almost what I was going to say, but yours is so much better.
Like, how else? Because everyone, well, not everyone loves their Warden, but most people really love their Warden. And, like, one of the biggest factors of why they don't want to bring the Warden back is because their story varies so wildly. And they were never voiced, so it'd be really hard to bring them back. So why not just bring them back in something where they don't have to be voiced, and you can also have wilding choices? It's perfect.
That's okay. Can I just keep talking about this? But can I just real quick tell you mine was going to be like, well, you could do something at Weishaupt where like you're a new Warden recruit and kind of like repeat that again. No, fuck my idea. Yours is way better. That is so good. I mean,
Bioware, I have ideas. You need idea people, right? That's valuable.
Yeah, of course. You don't have enough of those. But yeah, okay. So talk me through this. We're playing the Warden again. Do you just import or do you just recreate everything? The keep. You could just use the keep, right?
Yeah, just use the keep. I would also say, like, for people out there, like, well, my Warden died. Ah, yes, they did. But not your Warden Commander.
That's
goddamn
right.
Bioware always forgets about the goddamn Warden Commander, but they are real and they happened.
They are separate character people.
Yes, they happened, they are real, so you can still have the exact same storyline. It's just, now it's an Orlesian person, you know, like, and it's, instead of saying the hero of Ferelden, you would just say Warden Commander. Like, it's I don't think it'd be that complicated, because the Warden's supposed to be on, like a journey that was triggered by Morgan and Witch Hunt, which the Warden Commander did go on, so they would have the same information, so easy there. And like they're supposed to be so far away from everything that the people there probably don't know even who the hero of Ferelden is, so it doesn't matter what their past is. It really doesn't. Like you could probably get letters from some companions every once in a while. If you romance Zevran is supposed to follow you there. So yeah, maybe you have Zevran as a companion every once in a while.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. It's like, well, you have to have the interactivity with the companions because I feel like that's a big part of having the Warden be back. Like, if you, I mean, look, if you can get him, how awesome would it be for John Curry to come back and Zevran is your first, is your first companion in the game? I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. And like because the games are a little bit more customizable, you can have just like kind of how Mass Effect did it. You have like not Tally if Tally died for a little bit, you know.
True. Yeah.
Stand-in Morden when Morden had to die, like stuff like that. You could just have like a not Zevran stand-in if like Zevran died or Zevran wasn't romanced. Maybe he's doing something else. It doesn't matter. Like there could be tons of choices. So yeah, what I kind of wanted, because I don't know if you remember this, but a couple of years ago, it was probably like maybe a year or two after Inquisition came out. It was before I had the channel for sure. Someone, I want to say Laidlaw, I'm not quite sure, one of the Bioware devs tweeted out like, would you guys want to see a tactical based Dragon Age game, which is essentially what we're talking about. And everyone was like, hell yes, we want this so bad. And I remember thinking like, oh, this would be amazing. So like, I guess in my head, what I wanted was the Warden on the Cure for the Calling. And you would like be in a land far away, like we haven't even explored yet. It's not on any of the maps of Theta. So it's almost like Dragon Age somewhere we haven't been. And you have to create a Warden base wherever you are. So you can like recruit different people. Maybe you recruit literally anybody. Maybe you can even like customize your recruits, so it would kind of be like 100%. XCOM in that sense.
Yeah, totally. Pillars has that too, where you can create just kind of like, they don't talk and have stories, but if you want to create custom companions, you can for a specific party build.
Yeah. In my mind, I was thinking of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance because that's one of my favorite games.
Mm-hmm.
You could have like characters that you recruited with stories or was relevant to the main story, but then there was also just like randos that would just have like a random name, and you could do whatever you wanted with their backs, like not their backstory, but their what their powers are, and you could change them to different classes and whatever. And like for me, I love that because I created like little characters. Like I had this little red mage person I really loved a lot. So I would like that in Dragon Age, where it's almost like, you know how much you love your PC? Now you got a whole team you can create of like little characters that you can like take care of. And now it's like your little Warden recruits in wherever the fuck you are. So I guess that would be, and like you're really just on the search for the calling, which I totally get. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Hey, I want a cure for the calling, so let me make more Wardens who want to get the cure for the calling. It's a little loose somewhat. Maybe it's not Wardens, but just like a team of people. You need a small army. I don't know.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be all Wardens. You could have maybe a couple of Wardens and some other folks.
Yeah, maybe it's maybe you don't start in the land that we don't know, but maybe you actually start in Ferelden, and like you could get to like, as you have to travel to, like it's the entire journey on the quest of the calling. So it actually starts on that moment when Witch Hunt ends.
Okay, yeah, no, I like that. I do. So the setting and the story aspect is so interesting. I don't want to get off of that just yet, but just real quick, because I do think we'll talk more specifically gameplay. I do think we should say before someone like throws their podcast listening device through a window, tactics and cRPG are different things. I mean, they are, because like there's certain gameplay fundamentals that just have to be treated differently. And I do also want to point out, it was Mark Dara who did. I looked it up. Mark Dara who did the poll. Okay. 12,000 votes it ended up getting. This was back in 2016. 49% said yes. And he did say, would you play a Dragon Age Tactics game? And then in a response, he says, tactics as in a game like Fire Emblem or XCOM. Mm-hmm. So that is a tactics game, not a cRPG, not a real time with tactical pause, which is a very separate thing. But I digress. That is what Mark Dara had posted as a poll.
Yeah, that's kind of where like That's where my mind went, because I remember that tweet. So this is my original idea, and then we could tweak it to cRPG. This is an old idea I'm throwing at you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I love the idea of getting to play as the Warden again. You're right. It is really the only way and the best way to bring back that character, which is such a beloved player character, that realistically, it would just be a ton of work to get them back into a modern game. We even joked about the, like, hello, I am the Warden. Like, how do you pick a voice for that character when so many people have a voice already in their head? Mm-hmm. It's just going to end up being disappointing no matter what. And so, yeah, we absolutely have to have this if we're ever going to see the Warden again. And then companion-wise, I think it would be hard to do someone like Morrigan, etc., but you could still have cameos, right? You could still have Morrigan or Alistair appear even for a short amount of time. That would be incredible.
Mm-hmm. Well, like, if you going off of my idea where it starts after Witch Hunt, like, you're going, like Morgan says, the Warden and her raised her kid for a while, so like maybe she comes with you, and like you have like a mom and you have Morgan with one of those like baby backpacks or whatever, and you're fighting crime. You know what I mean? Oh,
how awesome would it be if you got to, how awesome would it be if that's sort of like the prologue or the opening, and then oh, that is so interesting, right? Like, depending on, like, say if you romance, it's almost like Origins, where like if you had romanced Zevran, you have one quote unquote origin or prologue, but if you romanced Morrigan and followed her through the thing, you have a different one. Mm-hmm. But like, how cool would it be to play up to the point where they have to say goodbye and Morrigan's like, I'm going to Orlais or wherever. I got to go do this mission. You got to go do yours.
Yeah. And like, it would just be so cool to me. Like, maybe like as you play, you can get news about like what's been going on with like your Hawk and your Inquisitor, because it's probably going to be a very like long game time wise, I would think, if it wants to span like the entire 10 years between Witch Hunt and Inquisition. Mm-hmm. So, and then you can react to that. You can get the letter from the Inquisitor asking you for help, and you can send something back like you do in Inquisition, unless you played a Warden Commander, then fuck off, I guess. But, maybe you could still be contacted, but it's not, it wasn't Inquisition. Like, stuff like that. That'd be really neat. Kind of like, I feel like it would be just a really interesting idea of, like, you're doing something else, and maybe, like, your choices from the previous games are coming back to bite you in this game, but, like, it's almost like you at the same, like, does this make sense? Where, like, if you sided with the mages in Dragon Age 2 and there's, like, the Mage Rebellion, maybe, like, some Templars try to come up and hurt you, and you're like, God damn it, Hawk, why did you do that? But, like, it's you. You're getting mad at yourself from the choice you made from, like, a couple of years ago, probably.
Sure, yeah. Oh, that would be cool. No, that would be great. Like, at first I was just thinking, yeah, well, it's the Warden. Oh, that's so good. At first I'm thinking, well, we're following the story of the Warden, so what you're really importing is the decisions made from Dragon Age Origins. But no, you're right. It's all the player who's been doing this, so you could import decisions from 2 or even Inquisition and have it affect this story. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's brilliant. That is so brilliant, because, like, there's so many choices that are made, and I know you know this, right? Like, there are things that are in the keep that you enter in options for, at least I think so, right? That don't end up having any effect.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Right, so there's a ton of data that's being saved that could lead to branching storylines, but it's so expensive to do it in a full Frostbite engine game, whereas if you did something like this, you have so much more latitude to sort of show the outcome of all these different decisions throughout the trilogy. Mm-hmm. God, it's so good. Come on, BioWare. All right, I gotta know.
Well, I'll be honest. I bet if they were even had that tweet of like, oh, tactical, whatever, and I know like a lot of the devs right now are tweeting about how good the new Fire Emblem game is. Like, I would bet that like something like this has come up before at one of their tables
many times. I'm sure.
I think it's more like. I bet there's something that's keeping them from it, because I feel like it's too good of an idea to not do. Like, there has to be something there, like a money problem, or like a they don't have the team for it problem. Like, there's something there that's keeping it from them, and for probably a good reason too. So like, I'm not like, I don't want to sit here and be like, BioWare is so stupid for not doing it. Because I feel like they probably thought about it. There's just something in the way that we don't know what it is.
I hope that the doors are opening, as far as, because I think if I had to guess what it was, it's the fact that you can't really make a game like that on Frostbite.
Yeah.
And I think EA has been, God, just like universal about using Frostbite, but the new Star Wars game that just came out is in Unreal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that, yeah.
And so maybe that's an opportunity, for them. I would love to see BioWare do something like this in Unity, to be quite honest. Because if I'm not mistaken, Divinity is also in Unity.
I have no idea what it is.
I know that Pillars is, and I think maybe Divinity might be also. I think Unity would be perfect for something like this, and it would be really great if that could. Because I agree with you. I am sure that they want to do something like this. I think it would be like a passion project / a return to their roots, a return for them to be able to kind of showcase again how much they've mastered doing those sorts of games. I'm sure someone like Mark Darrow would love to sort of jump back into something like that for a short period of time, if he could be spared. There's the whole problem of they are trying to do Dragon Age 4 right now.
Yeah, and they're probably really, because it was rebooted, so that's a whole thing. So whatever, they're probably all focusing on that.
This is like a really crazy idea especially from a business standpoint. But like if I was EA and I was seeing the success of these smaller developers who are doing things like kickstarting $1 or $2 million, which I know that's a lot of money for regular people, but that's a small budget for a game.
Yeah.
And then turning around like a really huge success, the way we've seen with some of these cRPGs. And then I look at Laidlaw, James Olin, David Gator, these people who are excellent at writing and designing these sorts of games, leaving your studio, and then you look at the stuff that they're working on, which looks very interesting, and that's all great, but they're clearly working on smaller stuff now, because that's what they wanted to do, right? They wanted to get back to the stage of their career where they had this sort of creative freedom and this sort of freedom to fail and the freedom to take risks and take chances on more experimental stuff, and that's clearly what they were looking for. But you lost these people with 20 plus years of experience because of the structure of their career path. Like it just wasn't going to go not that it wasn't going to go anywhere. There was no more room for them to grow in that particular direction at BioWare. They wanted to take a step back, a kind of a reset. If I was at EA, like, why not just spin off another company and just like BioWare 2, like not literally name it BioWare 2, but like just take some of the veterans from BioWare and put the offer out to anyone at BioWare who's like, hey, are you kind of tired of going this AAA game route every time, 5-year development cycles and all this stuff? Do you want to do a quick hit, smaller game the way that you used to? Why don't we just transfer you over to BioWare 2 and you can do that? And if you ever want to come back to BioWare and work on AAA games again, you can do that too. And we'll give you both inside of the EA family of companies. And then that way we have a small quick hit studio that's based off BioWare veterans, led by BioWare veterans, and you can move back and forth between them as you want, but they have separate bottom lines. So from a corporate structure standpoint, there's no like fiduciary pressure on that smaller studio. It's just like small budgets, small sales goals, but we can do quick hits. I just feel like that would make so much sense if EA did that. And you would retain all of that talent that wants to go out there and experiment on smaller games.
I have 2 comments. One, which it's like a maybe on this one, but they kind of sort of did something like that with BioWare Sacramento. This is a video that I haven't come out yet because I haven't actually finished the game. Do you remember, I always get them confused, Dragon Age Legends? It's the Facebook one?
Yes.
So, like, it was like a whole Facebook thing. For people who don't know what it is, it's a game on Facebook that you're supposed to play with your friends. And it was kind of a big money-grubbing thing. People didn't like it. Cool. This was made by BioWare Sacramento, which did... I'm pretty sure that's the name. Maybe I got that wrong. But anyway, it's one in California. They are also the ones that did the other BioWare Flash game, which I'm blanking on its name now. Journeys, I think. Journey's actually pretty damn good for a Flash game. So I've actually been playing Dragon Age Legends because you can download it and play it on your PC for free. And I found a couple blog posts, which I'll detail in the video. And then playing this game, Jordan, it's actually not that bad after they turned up all the microtransactions like it was supposed to. And there are blog posts of people who used to work there saying, we designed this without the microtransactions. And then someone came in there, threw the microtransactions on there, and it ruined our game, and they were kind of upset about it.
Yeah.
So the downloadable version that you get is actually kind of the real version of the game. And it's actually pretty good. which I was very surprised about because I heard nothing but trash about it. So it's just finding out about this. It does kind of sound like they wanted to start a Bioware, a little Bioware using Bioware titles that would make online flash games that were really popular at the time, and that was a thing. And then money got in the way, and it wasn't very profitable, so it stopped. So it's not quite what you're saying, but it did have that same feel like, let's start another Bioware and try to do this thing that's popular right now and hope it goes well. And like some good products actually came out of that. They just, money got in the way, which goes into my second point of how profitable was Divinity and Pillars really? Because we already know, Dragon Age and Mass Effect and Anthem, while they maybe were profitable, are just drops in a hat in the EA bucket. Maybe they don't really... It's one of those things like, if Divinity and all the other cRPGs didn't make a shit ton of money, probably not something that they're going to want to be interested in, right?
No, you're right. And so, like, Divinity 2 sold really well. Pillars 2 did not sell well. The first Pillars, I think, did much better than you would have expected for the scale. And I can't remember on Divinity 1. I think it was like good but not great. I think probably Divinity 2 is the only one that has sold like very well compared to its budget. And no, I think you're totally right. We've talked about this before, where EA seems to only want tentpole stuff. Like they only want mega blockbusters, which I don't know. I'm not at that company. I don't see their internals. I don't know what it is that leads them to be so focused on that. I just think it's a mistake. I just think they should be open to the idea of quick hits that are profitable and that add up, as opposed to only being focused on blockbusters. But you're totally right. I mean, all of the indications that they've given are that that's all they care about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And even with, I also say, like, maybe, because you mentioned Pillars wasn't as successful, and at least the story of why, like, I haven't played Pillars, but I have played Divinity, they came out at pretty similar time periods, and I was so, like, Divinity is a huge game that I still hadn't finished. I just never really got around to getting Pillars because I wanted to finish Divinity first, and it's such a big game, I never did. So,
yeah.
Pillars probably really suffered because it came out after Divinity. If it came out before Divinity, I would even wonder if roles would be reversed in a sense. Yeah, possibly. I mean, they're very similar, and I think that it was not necessarily a great release window for it to come out in. So yeah, I that is just something that I feel like it would work if they did it, but again, work is unfortunately, it's kind of relative, right? Because to me, work means you keep the budget small, you keep the schedule somewhat short, you keep the scope of the game appropriate to the fact that it's a smaller budget and a shorter schedule, and then you bank on the brand being the thing that drives people towards it. You make a quality product, it gets good review scores, word of mouth spreads, and boom, you net yourself a tidy little profit. But I don't think tidy little profit really fits under EA's category of working anymore. The only thing that they consider to work is, goddamn Star Wars mobile revenue. It's fucking $50 million in a quarter or something like that. Well, I mean, maybe another thing to talk about, like this new cRPG revolution is maybe a year old, if that, really. So if something like this were cooking at BioWare, we wouldn't know about it, and it would probably be a couple years down the line. You know what I mean? I hope that that's the case. Sure. I mean, I think it's a bit older than that, right? Because Pillars came out in 20. I'm surprised how long ago Pillars 1 came out. But I didn't remember Pillars 1 was a thing that existed. Like, I heard Pillars 2, and I was like, oh, was there a Pillars 1? I didn't know that. Yeah, well, because they were like at the time, they were the most successful gaming Kickstarter ever back in like 2013. And I think the game came out in 2014 or 2015. Oh, yeah, I was getting married at that time, so I had nothing on the... Yeah, I don't remember that year. And so, yeah, so it's been a while, but I think definitely it has culminated over the past couple of years when you look at Wasteland 2, Divinity 2, Pillars 2. You've now got stuff like Atom RPG, Kingmaker, Pathfinder, Kingmaker. I hope I'm saying that right. It's based on a tabletop role-playing. Tabletop game. There's a lot of them now coming out in the past couple of years. So yeah, I mean, I think
it is realistically probably more of a long shot because I don't think that EA necessarily appreciates or sees the value in this sort of approach, but I think the fans would absolutely love it, and I think it would be profitable.
I definitely think it'd be profitable. I just don't know if it's going to be the dollar amount that EA wants. You know what I mean? Which kind of sucks.
Yeah,
but...
it almost certainly wouldn't be. Real quick, I did want to jump into kind of like a little bit of the gameplay style. So,
oh right,
I love
we get sidetracked.
I love XCOM, and I think that like Fire Emblem and all that, I like those. If they made one of those, as long as there had also exploration in the world and going around and talking to NPCs, sign me the fuck up. I'm 100% on board for that. I would love something like that, but I would like it a little bit more if it was, like a Baldur's Gate, like an isometric, like a true isometric angle. It doesn't actually have to be exactly an isometric angle because that's a whole nother technical aspect thing. But like an isometric angle, real time with pause. Because to me, real time with pause, that's what Dragon Age Origins is. That's what Baldur's Gate was. That is the roots of Bioware. And if they did that, holy crap, that would just be such a return to form that I think me and a lot of other hardcore old Bioware fans would be very happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like XCOM too. I love XCOM. It would be great.
I've only played it once, and I'm not a huge fan of guns, so it was fun, but I guess I don't know much about it.
XCOM with magic.
XCOM with magic. Yeah, I would love an XCOM with magic. I'm sure that exists somewhere, and I just don't know about it.
Oh yeah, in fact, I'll never remember the name of the game, but there is one that it's literally just fucking XCOM with magic.
Does it also have aliens in it? It's just magic.
XCOM with magic and orcs or something. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, yeah. One thing I would also like to see is Dragon Age actually has a lot of classes. I guess I don't know how to describe it. But not so much classes of the mage, rogue, warrior, but you have a spirit healer or a blood mage or whatever. They have stuff that they've mentioned that have never actually appeared in the game.
Yeah.
There's stuff that have been mentioned, Chevalier was supposed to be an Inquisition that got scrapped, but that could easily be a mounted unit. You know what I mean? So you can ride around in a horse all the time, and then that you're just fighting real time on a horse. That'd be cool.
Oh yeah,
I'd like that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, maybe near the end of the game because Griffins are back. Maybe you can then be on a mounted combat on a Griffin. That'd be fucking awesome.
Holy shit, that would be awesome.
So, yeah, and there's actually a lot of good resources in the Dragon Age tabletop role-playing set. So, yeah, some stuff there.
Oh, that's right. They do have a table. Have you played it? You played it, right?
Sort of. Yeah, I've played a little bit of it. It's I don't know how to describe it because I don't really play a lot of tabletop sets, so I can't describe it very well.
Sure, yeah.
It is fun. It's definitely not like D&D, probably in good ways. Some of the math is wonky, I guess is what I'm thinking of.
I gotcha. Okay. I'm not a tabletop person either, but just kind of knowing that exists. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's, that would be something really interesting to pull from. Like you said, if there's anything in there that's interesting, and those settings for tabletop games obviously lend themselves well to adaptation into cRPGs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I will say, I feel like it's the games influence the tabletop. I don't think the tabletop has a lot of new stuff. There's definitely some element of that, but I feel like it's more stuff that has been mentioned in the media as existing. Now it has a rule set. You know what I mean? You can become there's rules for if you want to be like Cole, for example, of a spirit that turns into a body. So that's kind of cool.
Okay, yeah, no, I can totally do that. Yeah. All right. Anything else for cRPG wish list that we would want to see in there?
Stuff I want to see in there. I don't know. I guess it's very similar to Origins, where you do have voiced NPCs, but your protagonist isn't. As much as I do love having a voice for a protagonist, I get that's a lot of dialogue you have to record suddenly, mm-hmm. and that probably really helps cut the budget down not having that. And yeah, Now I do wonder. This is more like a Divinity thing. I don't know if this happened in Pillars, but you have a narrator. Would we have a narrator?
How about I'm going to go no. I'm going to vote no. And that's not like a harsh one. I don't hate the narrator. There is a narrator used very sparsely in Pillars 1 that's basically just the opening and closing. And he doesn't really pop up ever besides that. In Pillars 2, it's pretty infrequent, to be quite honest, but she does pop up a bit more, in particular in certain sections. Like there are certain sections where you're like talking to the gods or whatever. She pops up a lot more. I don't like it for some reason. I don't hate it. I just kind of like reading it instead.
Yeah.
And if a hypothetical Dragon Age cRPG had a narrator, it wouldn't really bother me. But if I had a choice, I would just say no.
For me, like how I remember the narrator in Divinity, it was really like, this is supposed to be animated, but we either not going to do that or don't have the means to, or because of like the scale of this, it's going to be too small for you to notice, like somebody winks or something like that. I feel like I would really like for them to try to do that, where like if it's too small a scale, maybe kind of like in Fire Emblem, sometimes if someone's talking, they'll have like a little character portrait come up. Maybe the portrait winks, something like that. That would be kind of fun. But yeah, I would like to see them without a narrator. But for fun, real quick, let's say they do have a narrator. What would it be? Varric, or would it be Morrigan, or some voice we don't know yet?
Samuel L. Jackson. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, okay.
No, who would it be? I mean, it'd be very interesting to have it be Varric. I think it might be a little. This sucks because like the fan in me wants to say, well, of course it would be Varric, but it would be a little distracting, I think.
I also feel like it wouldn't make too much sense because the Warden didn't know Varric. Now, if it was Hawk, completely, but it's not. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like if anything, I would prefer like Duncan again because he was the narrator.
Holy crap! I was right about to say Duncan. I was like,
okay, there you go.
I don't know how that also kind of, but just the voice of Duncan. That's they don't need to explain it like he's some omniscient spirit watching him. Like it's just the voice of Duncan. I think that would be a very nice homage.
Who was that voice actor? Has he done anything?
That is a good question.
We can look that up later.
One last thing I would say, I would like for them to just copy it outright from Pillars of Eternity, where they have the they call them scripted sequences, where it basically just shows you kind of like a book, and it's almost like a choose your own adventure story for short sections. It's very good for like some certain skill check stuff, like you're climbing up a mountain and these things happen, or you're trying to squeeze through this part of a cave or swim underwater, or stuff that would be really difficult to show. You get to have this little choose your own adventure book where you have maybe a couple of choices, a skill check, and depending on whether or not you can pass, you get X, Y, and Z, or sometimes you can even die if you choose the wrong character to do the skill check, etc. I love those. There's way more of them in Pillars 2 than there was in Pillars 1. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just a dork who likes choose your own adventure books. I think that they fucking work so well, and they are fun to do, and they also allow them to do more stuff in story sequences that would be very difficult to show animated.
Okay, offshoot idea. Just a Dragon Age choose your own adventure book.
Sold. What do they want? How much are they charging? I'll buy it.
That's actually a really good idea. I'm surprised they haven't done that before.
Like, again, like the fans are just like, come on, man. What do you want us to buy?
Oh, man. Yeah. Dragon Age choose your own adventure books would actually be really fucking cute. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, that's a whole nother episode maybe. Let's just start having episodes. We're not going to do this, but I'm going to say we are. Let's just have episodes where we just start designing better Dragon Age products that we're going to come up with.
Yeah, why not?
So it's to choose your own adventure books. Just a series of like cute pet costumes so I can make my dog look like I'm a Bari.
I can dig it.
Yeah, a full set of Dragon Age plushies because like Morrigan's cute, but where's my Aveline Bioware? Come on now. Anyway. But yeah, I think with that, is there anything else you'd like to add to the topic, or you think we're
No, I think we covered it. I think we're at about time with that. Caitie, where can folks find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Ghildirthalen and on Twitter at Ghildirthalen. I forgot my Reddit password, and I'm only like logged in on Reddit on my computer that's currently broken. So like, don't even attempt it right now, I guess.
Oh boy.
Oh, I'm terrible with passwords. Where can they find you?
The people can find me on YouTube at The Exalted March. They can find me on Twitter at The Exalted March, where I will be talking about my thoughts on Outer Worlds and Kanye West's new album. And also on Instagram at The Exalted March.
You can also find Kanye.
Oh, you can find Kanye on Twitter for sure. That guy's always on Twitter.
Tweeting some crazy shit. Anyway, guys, Derish.